Good evening, and welcome to another episode of Clark and Addison, Born into the Ivy. I'm your host, David Butler. Your Chicago Cubs have gone 3-3 this past week. They took 2 of 3 against the Nationals in Washington, the lone game they lost being shut out by Mackenzie Gore. Then the Cubs headed north to face the young, upstart Tigers, who owned the best record in baseball. Coincidentally, when the Cubs rolled into town, they had the best record in the NL by a half a game. They leave town having gone 1-2 against the Tigers, having faced their two best pitchers in the series, in Tarek Skubal and Jack Flaherty. In today's episode, we will go over the recaps from the previous week, some previews for this next week with the Phillies and Pirates, and we'll discuss possible deadline deal options. We're not going to discuss players we're going to get yet, but who we can trade in order to get some of the players that we would like to get. What prospects players might be gone, and what is our top priorities. Remember, the best way to help grow the podcast is to listen to every episode, like the episode, share the episode with your friends, and if you haven't yet, make sure to subscribe so that you never miss an episode. Join our Facebook group at Clark and Addison, Born into the Ivy, and our newly made Instagram at Clark and Addison, Born into the Ivy. For the Instagram, there's no colons or anything. For the Facebook, there is a colon in between Addison and Born. For the week recaps, the Monday we were off. On Tuesday started off with the Nationals getting on the board in the bottom of the first on a Luis Garcia Jr. RBI single, driving in C.J. Abrams. Then at the top of the second, Michael Busch got a triple and was brought home by a Dansby Swanson sac fly to tie the game. A Busch error opened things up in the bottom of the third, allowing Dalen Lyle to reach base, and the Nats had men on second and third with no one out. Abrams drove in a run, and then James Wood hit a sac fly to make it a 3-1 lead for the Nats after 3 innings. Michael Busch then atones for his error, getting a single to drive in PCA and Swanson. And Swanson gets another sac fly in the top of the fourth to tie the game. The fifth inning became the inning that broke Trevor Williams, as Seiya Suzuki hits a sac fly to bring in Matt Shaw. Busch draws a walk to bring in Ian Happ, and then Nico Horner drives a single to the opposite field to plate PCA and Carson Kelly. Top it off with in the seventh with the Michael Busch homer. That guy had himself a game, and the Cubs win 8-3. Busch goes 3 for 4 with a walk and is a double short of the cycle, and PCA gets on base 3 times, drawing 2 walks, and supplies 2 steals as well. Cade Horton continues to improve and looks like the pitcher the Cubs want him to be, going 5 1/3 innings, allowing 1 run and lowering his ERA to 3.51. Wednesday, there's not a whole lot to say about the game here. The Cubs had their best chance early in the first inning. They loaded the bases with 3 straight singles, and then PCA and Swanson both struck out, and Nico Horner pops out to end the inning. After that, the Cubs didn't get another hit until the 9th inning off of closer Kyle Finnegan. Matthew Boyd pitched very well, going 7 1/3 innings, giving up 2 runs off 4 hits. The Cubs just could not get the bats going against a very good pitcher. Thursday, hopefully this game will be known as the day Ian Happ got it back and started slugging more. He went 3 for 6 with a double, single, and a home run, and PCA also contributed a home run, and Matt Shaw got 3 hits as well. The Cubs got to starter Jake Irvin early in the first 2 innings, and then once he came out, jumped on the bullpen in the 6th and the 9th innings for 2 runs in each frame. The Nats tack on 1 run in the bottom of the 9th as Dalen Lyle reaches because of a catcher interference. The story today is the Cubs implement the opener again with Drew Pomeranz, and then Colin Ray, who had been struggling, goes 5 1/3 innings of scoreless baseball to shut down the Nationals' offense. On Friday, for the second time in 3 days, the Cubs faced off against one of the top southpaws in MLB this season. This time, though, it was arguably the best pitcher in baseball over the last couple seasons. If you haven't seen Tarek Skubal pitch, you need to. This guy is amazing and would be a whole lot more fun to watch when he's not facing our Cubbies. Ben Brown pitched opposite of him and frankly pitched very well. Coming off a very nice outing against the Reds, Brown had a 9-pitch first inning, huge for him, and ended up going 7 innings, allowing just 2 runs, 7 hits, and striking out 7. He truly only made one mistake against Spencer Torkelson, giving up a home run in the 6th. The Tigers did tack on a run in the 5th with a Gleyber Torres single as well. Before that homer, the Cubs were able to score in the top of the 6th with a pair of doubles off Matt Shaw and Kyle Tucker, the latter driving in Shaw. In my humble opinion, the point where the Cubs really hurt themselves was in the 5th inning. After a PCA single, Swanson hit a double to left field. PCA was being waved home by third base coach Quentin Berry, and then at the last minute, Berry threw up the stop sign. PCA, being PCA with that speed, tried to stop and retreat back to third, but Javi Baez threw to third instead of home, and they got PCA. In the box score, this will look like that's on PCA, but it wasn't. The decision to hold him up should have been made well before it was, or to just take the chance at going home. Who knows what would have transpired, but you got to believe the Cubs could have scored one there. And then it would have been 2-2 going into the 8th, and no offense against Genesis Cabrera, but I don't think he's the reliever used in the bottom of the 8th at that point. Mistakes happen for sure, but it was a huge turning point in the game. A game where every run has to count, and you know it does because of how both pitchers were dealing. Saturday, in typical 2025 Cubs fashion, the Cubs got handcuffed in a game and then came out firing in the next game. They got a solo shot from Seiya Suzuki in the top of the 1st, off the Tigers opener Tyler Holton, and then Jameson Taillon does what he's been doing lately, shuts the opposition down. He goes 7 innings of 3-hit, 1-run baseball, striking out 5. The bullpen, Caleb Theobar, struggled a bit but keeps his scoreless streak alive, and Daniel Palencia comes in and gets 4 outs to end the game in a non-save situation. He had not pitched in 6 days, so it was good for him to get a little work in. For the day, the Cubs didn't have a hit with the runners in scoring position, or maybe not even an at-bat with runners in scoring position, because 5 of their 7 hits were home runs. Bush added a 2-run shot in the 5th, PCA and Matt Shaw hit solo shots in the 7th, and Seiya Suzuki bookends with another solo shot in the 8th to complete the scoring for the day. On Sunday, Detroit jumped out 2 runs in the bottom of the 1st on a Spencer Torkelson double off Cade Horton. The Cubs threatened with 2 on and no out in the 4th, but that got snuffed out as Ian Happ is thrown out on a PCA single to right field. Then in the bottom of the 5th, Riley Green singles in 2 runs to complete the scoring. Cade Horton gives up 4 runs in 5 innings, allowing 7 hits. Ryan Bergier and Chris Flexen finished the last 3 innings, giving up 0 runs, but the offense just couldn't get anything going for the day. Previews for this coming week. Philadelphia Phillies series. The Cubs travel to Philadelphia tonight to face off Monday against the Phillies. The Phillies are 8th in the league with 4.63 runs per game and 8th in scoring at home at 4.84. Couple that with the Cubs averaging 5.9 runs per game on the road, and this series will have 2 teams that are used to scoring runs. The Cubs are 11th in team ERA at 3.67, but you can get to their starters at times, as we all know. Philadelphia is 21st with an ERA of 4. They are 23rd at home with an ERA of 4.45. The Phillies' offense is led by Kyle Schwarber and Trey Turner. Turner is top 5 in average, hits, and stolen bases, and Schwarber is top 5 in runs scored and home runs. The probable pitchers for the week have Matthew Boyd versus Zach Wheeler on Monday, Colin Ray versus Mick Abel Tuesday, and Ben Brown versus Jesus Luzardo on Wednesday. Wheeler would be the 3rd of the top 6 in strikeout percentage against the Cubs since last Wednesday, or 3rd time in the last 5 starts. The Cubs starters and offense will have their work cut out for them these next 3 games. I expect the Cubs likely to go 1-2 here, but if they could steal a second win here, that would be huge. The Pirates series, the Pirates actually have a 3.65 ERA on the road this season, while the Cubs have a 3.62 ERA at home. Where they really differ is scoring, where the Cubs actually dip down at home and are only 3rd with a 5.38 runs per game, while the Pirates are 27th in the league on the road, averaging 3.10 runs per game. Pittsburgh is obviously led by pitching phenom Paul Skeens, and the Cubs will likely face him on Friday in this series. Their offense is led by O'Neal Cruz, who has an 809 OPS, 12 home runs, 23 stolen bases, and 36 runs. He really doesn't have much help after him, though. This should be a series where the Cubs take 3 or 4 at least. I think in this 7 games, we have to take at least 4 and go 4-3 minimum. You can lose 2 at Philly against a very good Phillies team, but then you got to take 3 out of 4 against the Pirates. That, frankly, is not a very good team. News and notes. I talked a lot about the last 21 games where the Cubs were facing teams that were sub 500. The Cubs went 16-5 in that span. We talked about a really good time would be 15-6. 16-5 is amazing. I don't care what teams you play, that's really, really good and a great clip. Now the Cubs started another streak. This streak is 31 of the next 35 against teams above 500, and they actually started that this past Friday against the Tigers. The only team that isn't above 500 is this upcoming weekend series against the Pirates. Every other series from here until the All-Star break is against teams that are above 500. That's 35 games. 19 of those 35 games are on the road. The Cubs need to go at least 20-15 during this stretch, in my opinion. This keeps them just above where they currently are, and hopefully they can hold on to the first place during this run. They do have 3 with Milwaukee at home and 7 against St. Louis, 4 at St. Louis and Busch Stadium, and 3 at Wrigley. So they can have plenty of say as long as they win, and that win what they should here. If the Cubs can go 10-9 on the road, or even 9-10, and just 10-6 or 11-5 at home, this is very doable. All-Star voting is here. What Cubs have a legit chance, in my opinion, to make the All-Star team? I think PCA and Cal Tucker both have legit shots at being starters. I think the Cubs can help vote Nico Horner in. And catcher is also kind of weak. So maybe Carson Kelly? I don't know. More about him later. But given the first part of the season he started with, I could see votes coming in for him for that. I also think Brad Keller and Matthew Boyd both, at this point, obviously there's another month to the season still, but at this point, very much are arguably have a legit chance at being an All-Star. Let's vote for our Cubs. Vote, vote, vote. And get those guys in there. Like I said, PCA and Cal Tucker, I see no reason why they can't be starters. Trade targets. We're not going to necessarily talk about anybody specific. I will do that more next week. But I think our priorities need to be starters, not 1, but 2 starters. We need at least 2 starters. A bona fide closer, maybe? A catcher? Hear me out. Daniel Palencia has been great. Porter Hodge is going to come back at some point. Maybe you don't have to trade for a bona fide closer. I mean, honestly, I don't know that we necessarily need to. I think that would just be like a cherry on top type thing. The one thing that we absolutely need, without question, the biggest need is not 1, but at least 2 starters. The Cubs need to do whatever they have to by trading prospects, with the exception of Cade Horton. I'd prefer not to trade Jackson Wiggins. I'd also prefer not to trade one of Moises Ballesteros or Owen Casey. This team has got a ton of pieces, though, to still be able to trade, even with trying not to do that. The Cubs cannot ultimately compete in the playoffs and with the upper echelon teams with Colin Ray, Ben Brown, and Cade Horton as 3/5 of the starting rotation. I just don't think that that's feasible. And I think most people would agree with that. 1/5 of that, I think we can deal with that. My preference would be Cade Horton in that instance, which is kind of surprising, but I think the reason I say that is because Ben Brown innings we want to minimize, and so putting him in a bullpen, I think that helps solidify that even more. So, And then Colin Ray kind of takes over the Chris Flexen role. I don't know. I think that you could argue which one of them is better at this point. Colin, I think, is very good in short stints as a spot starter. As a main cog in your rotation, I think you're just asking for trouble eventually. And we saw that in a couple of starts with the Reds. He came back, did really well with Pomeranz as his opener. But I just think to rely on him to be a huge integral part of this team and this rotation is just asking too much of what his capabilities are. And same with Brown and Horton. To ask both of them to have such huge parts of the rotation and going against guys like Tarek Skubal, Zach Wheeler, things like that, it's just asking for a lot. Miguel Amaya, hopefully he comes back ready to go. Catcher, I said, because Carson Kelly is just regressing. And he's frankly getting back to the guy that, probably worse than the guy that we thought we had. Carson Kelly, since May 5th, has an OPS of 508. Since May 5th, an OPS for Carson Kelly of 508. I think that's probably quite alarming when you hear that, because you look at his overall numbers. That's how on fire that guy was in April. I mean, he was absolutely on fire, no doubt. And he's had some hits since then, but his walk rate, 7.9%, K rate, 19.7%. Both of those are much more on par with what he has done in his career. The 508 OPS is definitely under what he has done, but I think that you're getting my point. Carson Kelly is not an everyday starter, and to expect him to be is crazy, especially looking back at it. And I know that that's probably unpopular to hear right now, but it is what it is. So, guys that are possible trade bait, I'm going to say some of the guys that I just said, hopefully we don't trade, just because they are. I mean, the Cubs have, I believe it's five guys in the top 100 prospect list in Major League Baseball, overall Major League Baseball. Cade Horton, Owen Casey, Moises Ballesteros, Kevin Alcantara, and Jefferson Rojas. Cade is 32nd. Moises is 57th. Owen Casey is 46th. Alcantara is 70th. And Jefferson Rojas is 74th. Of guys, I think a lot of teams are going to want guys who are capable of stepping in now. Prospects that are stepping in, that can step in now. Cade Horton can do that. Moises Ballesteros. Owen Casey, Kevin Alcantara, James Triantos, who is number 6 on our prospect list. Brandon Birdsell, who is number 7. Jack Neely, who is number 13. Ben Cowles, number 16. And Christian Franklin, who is number 17. Other guys, Fernando Cruz, Jackson Wiggins, Christian Hernandez, Juan Thomas, Jonathan Long, who was also ready now, Brett Bateman, Pedro Ramirez, Pablo Aliando, all top 30 prospects for the Chicago Cubs, and would probably be closer to top 20 or even top 15 on most other clubs. And maybe I'm overvaluing our farm system, but I don't think I am. Especially at AAA, we have one of the best teams, group full of prospects there. So it's quite possibly amassed the best collection of talent at AAA ever seen, at least in recent memory. They don't have a top can't-miss prospect, but they've got plenty of guys in the top 10 and even top 30 that provide a ton of quality depth. MLB Draft is coming up July 13th and 14th, and MLB.com scouting reports show that Tyler Bremner is one of the possibilities that the Cubs could draft. Tyler Bremner is a right-handed pitcher from UC Santa Barbara. His scouting grades on a 20 to 80 scale. Fastball is 65, slider 50, changeup 65, control 55, and overall 55. Including today, I will have 5 episodes before the day of the draft, and we'll highlight 1 or maybe 2 players each episode of who the Cubs might be able to draft, and then kind of give a little rundown on them. In the recent 24 and 23 drafts, the Cubs have gotten players such as Cam Smith, who is traded in a Kyle Tucker deal. In the second round of 2024, Cole Mathis, who is the 14th top prospect and currently at Myrtle Beach, low A ball. In the third round, got Ronnie Cruz, the 13th top prospect, and at rookie Arizona. Fourth round, they got Ty Southseen, a shortstop, who is the 29th top prospect and at Myrtle Beach. And in the fifth round, they got Ariel Armis, catcher, who is currently at High A South Bend Cubs. At 23, they got, in the first round, Matt Shaw, who is now a third baseman on the ML roster. In the second round, Jackson Wiggins. If you haven't been paying attention to him, check him out. I'll talk more about him again a little next week. He is currently playing for AA Knoxville Smokies, our 9th top prospect, and killing it. In the third round, Josh Rivera, shortstop, who is now a third baseman at AA Knoxville. Fourth round, Will Sanders, a right-handed pitcher who is at AAA Iowa and starting there. Fifth round, Michael Carrico, a catcher who is at Low A Myrtle Beach. Thank you very much for listening. Don't forget to join our Facebook group at Clark and Addison, Born into the Ivy, and our Instagram page, Clark and Addison, Born into the Ivy. Leave some posts or comments in there about what you'd like to hear or what you thought about today's episode. However you subscribe to your podcast, please like and subscribe to Clark and Addison, Born into the Ivy, so that you don't miss out on any of our future episodes. Also, if you feel so inclined, please make sure to leave a 5-star review and leave me some comments. If you are enjoying this podcast, make sure to tell and share it with any of your friends who might be a Cubs or baseball fan. Have a great day, and let's go Cubs. Paisley, send them home.
Go Cubs, go!
Living on the water, counting days since last summer.